Hi guys, it's Horsey Steph, and today I am back with another Horse Trainer Reacts to Horse Fails video. Make sure to check out the description box down below to see the playlist where I have every single one of my Horse Trainer Reacts to Horse Fails videos so that you don't miss a single one. These videos come out every Monday and Wednesday, so make sure that you subscribe to my channel and tune in to see my Horse Fails videos at 5 p.m. as soon as they are uploaded. Let's go ahead and jump on in and see what happens in this video. And hopefully, crossing my fingers, nobody gets hurt, horse or human. Let's see how it goes.
All right, so it looks like this horse
Kinda stops and skitters sideways, and she really actually does a pretty decent job of staying on considering the initial stop and duck got her. She kind of clung on for dear life and looks like she's saving this. So that's props to her. Sit up in the first place though, don't get left
behind. Ooh, another crossrail one. Oh my.
Got totally popped in front of the saddle. I think any horse that approaches a jump with their head straight up, neck basically vertical, and nose above their pole and tail raised is a lot of warning signs that that fence isn't going to go very well. And well, it didn't go very well. The horse kind of just launched straight up in the air and then fell back down. Not like a real jump, much more like a deer or a mule would jump. And it popped her right in front of the saddle, but luckily she doesn't seem too fazed by it. And I think it's gonna stay on.
It's like a slow motion fall.
Well, too, she kind of fell onto the horse's neck, so she was standing straight in the stirrups, and then I swear they paused there before the horse kind of lowered his head and she just kept going. That really sucks. I wouldn't want to go over a fence face first. It doesn't seem
very fun.
See, again, rider error. That horse really didn't do anything that bad. I mean, it did kind of charge to it and then sit and pop it, but if she didn't half halt in the first place, I mean, what was the horse really supposed to do when he came up to that bad spot? She let him charge into it, which means he got way too deep to the fence to jump it well. So I'm not shocked that he popped it. As a rider, she should have been able to go with that and not get totally popped out of the tack.
Oof, those are the hard
ones to stay on. Those ones where they stop but don't actually stop before the fence. They kind of crash into the fence as they're stopping because you don't get any preparation or sign that they're gonna stop, because that time when they would have had to have stopped by, if they're gonna stop, they're going through. So those ones can kind of trip you up.
Let's see what happens in this one. The horse looks a little bit bucky, but I wouldn't have expected such a dramatic response, and I assume it's just from the quarter sheet.
So probably a really great thing that they did lunge that horse with that quarter sheet on before riding the horse with the quarter sheet, because it really looked like it irritated him. After that fence, he was like, what is this on my hind end? Let me get it off. So at least the rider didn't have to deal with that, and I'm sure he got over it and got used to it
eventually. Oh my goodness, he is just shredding that blanket. They can be so destructive doing this, and they don't let up for anything. London is just like
this horse. He thinks it is the most fun, an absolute game, to just rip those blankets right off and shred them like a dog with a plush toy. Honestly, my dogs with plush toys, they're just like that. And no matter what the other horse does, this other one seems like he wants to get away. He's like, this is kind of a scary situation. I don't like it. Same as this chestnut. My gelding is like, nope, it's coming off. Whatever you say. Thankfully, I fixed this issue by putting a muzzle on my gelding. And I wouldn't recommend muzzling to solve the issue, but I put a muzzle on him for other reasons, and just, because he had a muzzle, now he can't grab blankets. It's great. It really killed two birds with one stone, but he really wears the muzzle to avoid eating the sugar in the grass because it makes him founder. But I feel this person's pain. This really sucks. They do anything bad. He just kind of slipped going out the ramp and kind of jumped to get out the rest of the way. It's interesting that they have tacked up in the trailer. I assume, I can't imagine you would haul with their stirrups down and everything. So it's interesting to me that the horse was tacked up in the trailer, yet the hind boots are still on. I would think while you're tacking up, you'd take the hind boots off. I think that this horse really loved the fact that that was like a little slanted. The rails weren't even, and that can really get some horses. I mean, others don't mind at all, but some are kind of like, that looks funny, I don't think so. And I feel like this horse kind of sucked up and started looking at that fence a few strides out. And then the rider is not a very advanced rider. Didn't seem to notice at all that the horse was kind of sucking back and looking, and just kind of sat there like, yeah, the horse is gonna do it, no problem. Like, didn't even occur to the rider that the horse may stop. So I'm not shocked we're seeing an issue here. Oh, okay, so I think the horse did kind of try to save whatever that was. Is that a dog or like I think it's a dog. I do think the horse tried to avoid the dog, I'm gonna call it a dog, as he kind of came up that bank and jumped. But he didn't see the dog was there until he was already had his trajectory and had taken off and was going to land. So then he tried to kind of contort himself, but the dog was kind of running to where he was gonna land. And there wasn't a whole lot he could do. So he ended up falling and, rolling because he kind of threw himself sideways to avoid that dog. So I'm glad the dog didn't get crushed, but it does really suck for the horse. I'm curious what got the horse to run like that, because I don't think very many horses would run and like jump off the top of a bank just for fun. I was wondering, I was like, that's a really boring fail video. It would have been, but he didn't actually stop, right? He just jumped his front feet up. I did used to have a horse, my gelding Z used to jump and plant his front feet on top of obstacles and then launch off of them. He was extremely lazy, like he would find the easiest way to get over anything. And he knew that when they were big and solid, you could step on them, so you didn't have to jump as high, you could just kind of jump on, jump off. He would do that kind of thing all the time, but he would obviously keep going. This one, I think, just couldn't really decide what it wanted to do, so he kind of like thought about stopping, and then it was like, I guess I'll jump onto it, but I'm not committed enough to jump all the way over it. That seems intense, so he kind of gave up there. Now, I'm not sure what's happening in this video. It looks like maybe they're trying to back a horse. Somebody's leading it and somebody's laying over top of it and it's gone spooked. That would be my guess. That would be my best guess, because this rider doesn't look like she's entirely on the horse. I think that probably they were trying to back the horse, rushed it a little bit too much. Horse got real worried. And so when they took that first step, or maybe as they were still like moving and adjusting, laying over the horse's back, he panicked and went to bolt. And the nice thing about that kind of situation, if you do start your horse that way, is somebody is holding the horse, so we can't like get real speed to where you're gonna like fly off like, you came off the back of a truck or something. And because you're laying over a horse, it's pretty easy to slide down, and you might fall on your butt, but you're not gonna get too hurt because you are kind of like sliding down and falling backwards. And again, having that handler to control the horse, keep his kind of head on a circle so he can just spin, does eliminate like how fast you're traveling when you do come off. So fairly safe situation and very standard practice. I used to start horses this way. I don't anymore, but I do when I lean on their back. I don't use a handler anymore. I do it all by myself. When I'm leaning over their back, I do have a hold of their front end, so that if they get worried, I can bend them around, which kind of does the same thing that a handler would. So I can be kind of quick to bend them as I slide off, so I don't get into the same sticky situation of a horse galloping while I'm laying over its back. And as soon as it takes a step and feels the rider, it wants to bolt. They've now progressed to sitting on this horse, but I think they're rushing this process way too fast. It's really important that you make sure a horse is relaxed and confident in every step of the way as you're starting a horse. Because when they're worried like this in the very beginning, that worry is going to persist through all their training. So I would guess this horse will never be completely reliable. It will always be a little spooky and on edge about the rider. When you kind of lose your balance or do something weird, it's going to be liable to blow up versus think and react calmly. So I would not start a horse like this. I do think it's leading to trouble. Obviously, it's all fixable. You can start horses and rush like this and fix it later, but it's going to take more time later to fix all this built-in stress and anxiety about the rider's weight and the rider shifting weight versus just taking care of it in the very beginning. Before the horse has decided it's scary, just when he's worried about it. But once this becomes like every time the rider moves, I'm scared, it's going to be a really difficult issue to solve because the horse is going to tend to get very reactive and blow up really quickly. And I would much rather deal with that little like, oh my God, I don't like this tendency to jig, because it's easy to stay safe in that situation versus if you progress with this horse and it gets to where you shift your weight and it like takes off bucking and bolting, it's a lot harder to deal with, and I wouldn't want to have to deal with that. It really sucks. Unfortunately, there's not a ton you can do with horses that really hate going into water like that. You can obviously work through it to where they're not scared of it and maybe they'll do it for you, but if they're really dead set on not getting their feet wet, eventually they'll probably take the option of leaping over it instead of stepping into it, which, you know, doesn't really benefit you a lot of the time. So those horses that don't like getting their feet wet really is troublesome. I highly recommend if you have a young horse, like a baby or something, you introduce it to water right away, because at a young age, they'll get used to it and think nothing of it, versus when they're older and have already kind of decided like puddles are dangerous, stepping in water is dangerous, it's a lot harder to fix that. Now what we have is this horse that was in turnout and just kind of got into a little bucking fit. Very common when you're turning a horse out, but like there is some serious height on that bronking. That is an impressive shot there. I mean, he's what, 5 feet off the ground? That's insanity.
Oh, not the...
But, so then you have the other horses. I was just talking about the ones that don't like to get wet. Then you have these. I'll take the ones that don't like to get their feet wet over this kind any day. Because these ones that like to roll in mud, you can't do anything. Even if you blanket them really well, like once they roll in that mud puddle, it's gonna get under their blanket, so they're gonna have mud all over their skin, their blanket is drenched. It's disgusting, and frankly, I don't wanna have to deal with that. Plus you have a cold horse that's gonna start shivering because now it's soaked with a soaked blanket on it. Just a terrible situation. If you can avoid turning out in mud and mud puddles, that's obviously best, but if you don't have a choice, like really sucks to have this horse. Nothing that dramatic. I guess the horse jumped a lot bigger than she thought he was going to. It didn't look that big from like the video. I mean, he overjumped it a little bit, but nothing crazy in my opinion. And obviously he kept that nice trot pace all the way up. He had that placement pole, so he didn't have a lot of options with the pace. I'm surprised she came off of that. It didn't look like a great way to fall either. So hopefully she didn't get hurt. But I wouldn't have expected somebody would come off of like that. It didn't seem like the horse jumped crazy. Obviously when they clear, 3-4 feet above the pole, if you're not expecting that, it's a bit hard to sit, but this was like not even an extra foot. So nothing unreasonable I would think you wouldn't be able to go with. So that horse started to want to rear and she pulled back. So then he starts wanting to back up and does a little buck. When your horse wants to rear or wants to buck, go forward, go forward, go forward. Probably would have saved this situation. Anything that involves forward and bend is going to alleviate spooking, bolting, bucking, rearing, all of that stuff. So pulling back is about the worst thing you can do.
Oh no.
That poor kid, you know, the horse saw the placement pull on the ground, I think before a jump, and was like, nope, I'm out, and she just got flung off the side. I do wish she'd let go of that horse's reins, because what was she really accomplishing there except punishing his mouth for stopping? And if the horse starts to anticipate he's going to come up with something in his mouth, is going to get yanked, he's going to be even more likely to refuse. So not good training, and also just this poor mouth, they're sensitive, they shouldn't be yanked on like that. So I wish she'd let go when she got drugged, but probably in that moment her instinct kicked in and she just grabbed on for dear life, because that's always our instinct, right? To grab when we're scared or anxious. We want to use our hands to like hang on for dear life, and I'm sure that's just been passed down through us, our instinct for years, but definitely doesn't help with horses at all. That really wasn't that horrific. I am really enjoying these horse fails that are more funny and stupid, not tragic and terrifying. So it was pleasant. It was a pleasant change. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, as I do make these videos every single day for your enjoyment. Please leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, and if you have any future video suggestions, I would love to hear them. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.